Hey Mo,
Hey, Ricky,
the
the
doctor.
doctor. The doctor is in. I love it.
The doctor
Well,
in.
it is. Here we are, another Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
June is halfway over, half the year is done.
You know,
And
but
and,
Mo,
and
tomorrow is Touch's third birthday. I really just remembered that. Can you believe that?
oh my gosh.
I know. So today we're having a party.
Yeah, we are. Oh, I
We're
love it
having a
so
party.
much. Listen, all of this was born out of struggle, out of COVID, out of a need for
George
for
Floyd,
this.
right? The perfect
Yeah.
storm of racism. Oh my
Yeah,
God, right?
a need for this type of advocacy and for this type of support, and we get to bring it every Wednesday night here on Black Doctor, which we are thrilled to do. But I love this topic tonight because
Right?
when cancer hits, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Like everything else in life is going on at the same time, right? If you were
Right?
having trouble in your marriage, guess what? It might probably made it worse. You're having
Right?
problems with
Right?
your health. If you were
Right?
having problems with your kids, whatever it is, cancer
Right?
just makes things worse before it possibly could even attempt to be better. And when you have multiple illnesses or multiple cancers, that can be compounded.
Yeah, it's
And we got to
crazy.
talk about it.
And the two, two of the black cancers, that's what we call them, right? Between multiple myeloma,
I hate
prostate
that.
cancer,
Yeah.
the black cancers, lung, the black cancers. So, but these ladies are going to blow your mind. So
Yeah.
I had a great talk with Valerie, and I'm just meeting Remy. So I think we're going to like hear their stories and hear how these things are crazy. And they basically had rebirth
I
into,
love that.
into their
Yeah,
bodies, right? What a
love
concept,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So Val, you start. Tell us about yourself and tell us your story.
Hey, hello, ladies. Thanks for having me, Ricky and Dr. Gary. It's so nice to meet you. Yeah, wow, where do I start?
Start
Um,
from the very beginning. I can't.
well, about 8 years ago, I was going on about life, minding my own business when all of a sudden I was hit with a multiple myeloma diagnosis just out of the blue. Um, had never heard of the disease, didn't know, where it come from or anything like that. Uh, and it was a little bit scary, it was because it's an incurable blood cancer. It affects the plasma cell. So I was, like I said, shocked, scared, um, you know, didn't know where to turn. So once I did get on the right track, found the right resources, got connected with a very good support group, started treatments, um, ended up having a stem cell transplant, um, and got the disease into remission to where it was undetectable. And I thought I was going to continue to, get back to my new normal, is what I call it. Um, a breast cancer diagnosis came knocking on my door. That was out of the blue too. Now breast cancer does kind of run in my family. I have three different great aunts that have had breast cancer, um, all triple negative. They've each experienced a reoccurrence, one after 4 years, one after 9 years, and I think the other was after about 6 years. Um, so I wasn't, you know, it's not that I had never heard of breast cancer, but I just never thought I would be, personally affected by it. Um, but yeah, I got that diagnosis, and I ended up having mastectomy. I had a single mastectomy. I did chemotherapy. I had about 6 months of chemotherapy. I didn't need any radiation. There was no lymph node involvement. Very early stage. And it was picked up in just a regular screening mammogram. I was going every year for my mammograms, and they picked up on something, and I got that call back. I was expecting that everything is fine. We'll
Right,
see you
right.
next year. But it was like, no, we see something and we want you to come back for an ultrasound. And I was like, okay. And we often hear, the Black ladies have the dense breasts. So I
Yeah.
wasn't too overly concerned because, I had been told, oh, you have dense breasts. So we just want to make sure that it's nothing. But after having the ultrasound done, I kind of knew something was up. And it was done on a Friday evening. So, of course, you had that whole weekend to think and ponder and wonder, you know,
Right.
everything that goes through your mind there.
Right.
Um, but the diagnosis was confirmed, and it was kind of like, what do I do now? You know, I really was still kind of spinning from the other cancer. So I didn't know, I wasn't sure what to do next. You know, I knew what had to be done, but I just didn't want to go through that process again because it was just about three and a half years,
Three and
you
a
know,
half
in
years. Wow.
between, between one
Well,
diagnosis and the other.
well, Val, go back a minute.
Mhm.
How did you get diagnosed, or how did you know that you had multiple myeloma? Like, what are the symptoms to look out for? Like, what did you
Mhm.
have that made you go to the doctor?
Yeah, so with multiple myeloma, my symptoms, I had nosebleeds.
Mm.
I was experiencing frequent infections, but it was ultimately a bout of the flu that kind of drove me to see my primary care doctor. I had a, I was just wasn't feeling well for about 3 weeks, and I knew something was desperately wrong.
I got to
But
stop you right there,
mhm,
Val, because what you said was so important that people need to hear it again. You said, I had symptoms for about 3 weeks. I knew something was wrong,
mhm,
right? And you know how often we ignore that thing, that feeling in our
yeah,
gut, like, you know what, something just isn't right. I don't feel right. And it's hard to know, especially when you're diagnosed with another cancer. And I'm going to ask you about that for later on. How do you know when something's not right now? Right? But that sense of knowing that something's not right and knowing yourself and not ignoring that little voice is so,
yeah.
so, so important. And I want people to think about that because when's the last time you listened to yourself and to your body and you were right? And if we all trace it back, we can
Right.
trace it back to a moment that was pivotal for us.
We knew. This is Breast
Yeah.
Connect. She just came to my house to hang out. So
Hi, how
just
are
sneak
you?
in here.
Hi.
Hey, pull up a spot, pull up a
Oh,
coffee, let's chat.
cheer up. Um, yeah, but it is right. You feel it in your gut that something's wrong, right? You feel it in your gut.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but wow. So then, gosh, were you afraid when you got breast cancer that it was going to be different because of your multiple myeloma? Did you think they were connected? Like, so they both had breast cancer and multiple myeloma. Okay.
Yeah, I was a little afraid because with multiple myeloma, they tell you, you know, there's a risk of secondary cancers. I think that's with any cancer, you know,
Yeah,
once you've been
yeah.
treated with chemo. Um,
And
but
I
with
read that we're
multiple,
more likely to have breast cancer after
mhm,
myeloma. I read that.
And there's a connection even before chemotherapy, but there's definitely a connection after chemotherapy because of what it does to the bones. Val, you're right.
mm,
I heard you say that too, and we'll talk about that some more. But there are studies that are beginning to show a connection between
mhm,
myeloma and breast cancer, and then to your other point, having secondary cancers, and it's why it's so important to stay vigilant even after that breast cancer diagnosis, even if you're in ongoing treatment. You know, to keep up with that sort of routine health maintenance. I know it all can go out the door, but colon cancers definitely have been
Right,
identified, you
right,
know,
right.
in especially in Black women who have had breast cancer. But myeloma is a big one, yeah.
yeah. I think there was a lot of question, like at the time, or there's a question about when you undergo a stem cell transplant, they give you that high dose drug that, you know, kind of prepares you to kill out all the myeloma cells there. A lot of times that is often associated with other cancers and things of that nature. There was also the question of, so I was, at the time that I was diagnosed with the multiple myeloma, I was 42 years old.
So young.
With the breast cancer, I had 46, just turned 46. And there was a question about, because when I was diagnosed with the multiple myeloma and went through the stem cell transplant, it put me into early menopause. So my gynae decided to do a hormone replacement, very low dose.
Mm,
So there was some question about, okay, well, did that kind of push you, you know, did that have anything to do with the breast cancer? Even though it was a low dose of it, it could have sparked something that, set off the breast cancer there. And those are questions that to this very day I still ask, what caused this? Where did it come from? And I may never get the answers, probably won't ever get the answers. And I
Wow.
have to be okay with that too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. So what did it feel like to have a stem cell transplant? Like they just redid your body, right? They rewired you.
Yeah, yeah. So it was very hard. It was very taxing on the body.
Doesn't
I'm
it take a long
grateful that
time too? Doesn't it take a long time
yeah,
for our friend had it?
yeah. So the process of actually, getting the stem cells back, it's very quick. It's similar to just having a blood transfusion, but the recovery period is just so long and extended, and it kind of varies from person to person. For me, um, it was a lot of just fatigue. You could
Worse
go to
than chemo,
bed and
worse than
sleep.
chemo, worse than chemo fatigue.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It was,
Yeah, because it's
and I'll say,
ongoing. It wipes out everything.
yeah,
It is the ultimate nuclear bomb, as we
yeah,
call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
And I'll say, with multiple myeloma, the chemos, the therapies that are used are a little different than those used in breast cancer. So, at that time, I didn't realize, but thinking back on it now that I've had the opportunity to compare the two. It is worse because it's just that depleting. You just don't feel like you get out of the shower and you have to sit there and regain everything that it just took to just wash yourself off there.
Wow. Wow.
Do they
Very,
just do it
very
one
sad.
time or do you do it more than one time?
So it is possible to have more than one transplant. There are people that have what's called tandem transplants, meaning that they have one and then between 3 and 6 months later, they'll go back and have another. It's not a very common procedure that's done, in this day and time, but 8 years ago, it was being done, on a more common basis there. But yeah, you can have more than one.
Wow. Well, so let's let Remy tell her story and then you can come back and talk about what you're doing
Sure.
now, because she's doing some amazing things, Mo, in the community. So
Excited
Remy,
to hear about it.
it's you.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me. So my story, multiple myeloma story, it began in 2018. I was getting the nosebleeds as well, Val, but I ignored them. I thought, oh, nosebleeds, and I even think I maybe Googled it. Why am I getting nosebleeds? And then, it's a common thing. So I
Google, here
ignored
we
it.
go. Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to get gastric sleeve surgery, but my platelet numbers were lower. My blood count was lower, so my doctor ordered more tests and then eventually sent me to a hematologist who said, well, why don't we just do a bone marrow transplant just to rule it out? I'm sure
Let's do a bone marrow transplant.
let's just do it. So that's how I found the multiple myeloma. And then personally, my world kind of imploded. That was 2018, 2019. I got pregnant with my son. 2020, I had the stem cell transplant. 2021, divorced. So it was.
So you had your baby before the transplant.
I had my baby before the transplant.
Well, you had cancer then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So were you pregnant with cancer? Like where's your?
I was pregnant with cancer. Yep.
Gosh.
And so they stopped.
They stopped the treatment.
Yeah. They stopped the treatment while I went through the pregnancy, and then shortly after, I did get the sleeve too. So I was just boom, 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 things just happening.
Wow.
The
sleeve was in 2020 at the 20. Yeah, it was in 2020. Yeah. So I was just with all kinds of procedures happening at the time. And then after the divorce, everything was going great after that. And then end of last year, December, I went to my primary and he just in passing, "Are you doing self-exams?" I'm like, "Sure," but I wasn't. All that week, I just did a self-exam and felt a lump. I was like, "Oh, I better get that checked out." So I scheduled myself a mammogram, and then it just took off from there. It was diagnosed at 2 centimeters on my left breast. Started chemo right away. The Taxol and I think it's carboplatin, right? Well, I started that and did 6 treatments, and it tanked my blood count again. My platelets went down to like 25. My neutrophils wouldn't come back up, and it was growing. It got to from 2 to 3.5 centimeters.
What kind of breast cancer was it?
Triple negative.
And that's
Great.
what you had too, Val, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they decided to stop the chemo and move to surgery. But that took maybe a month and a half of no treatment. So I was just completely freaked out. And
Maybe it's like a year old.
yeah, a couple of years. Completely freaked out. And what happened then? Oh, they out of the blue, my doctor tells me about, because I'm like talking to her, like, what are we doing? Or I mean, I'm feeling like y'all are just leaving me out here to die.
What's the plan, right?
What's going on? Help me. Help.
Yes.
So she calls me one day and tells me about a study that they just started at UT Southwestern here in Dallas, where they freeze the tumor before surgery. So they did that and froze it. By that time, it was around 5.2, 5.5 centimeters big.
I've never heard of that. Well, what is that? I've never heard of that.
So cryotherapy for breast cancer. It is very experimental for tumors. 5 centimeters is usually for tumors a little bit smaller than that, and a lot of times they will do it for single tumors that are how do we say it can help to decrease the the positive margin rate. Let me say it that way. So really interesting. I have a dear friend who does quite a bit of it out in California, and it's now down in Texas, MD Anderson, a couple other places. But it's a promising modality, but it is still experimental. And I think that's wonderful that they were able to do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mom is in the hospital. I'm gonna have to go talk to my stepdad.
It kind of arrests the growth, you know what I mean? Like it stops it, it slows it. The same kind of thought for things like cryotherapy for, cold cap, right? For hair follicles, for digits and other things that help slow the metabolic rate. But that freezing can ablate and actually kill tumor cells at the right temperature.
Yeah. So they did 2 8-minute bursts of the freezing. It hurt like all get out.
Yeah.
It hurt the next day. I was swollen, visibly swollen. And then I had the surgery maybe 8 days later, and they were able to get clear margins with that. So yeah, so now I'm that just happened, end of March. So now I'm back trying to get things going. I started a week of Xeloda.
Okay.
They've stopped it for this week because my numbers went down again. My blood count went down again. So they're just wanting to kind of stabilize. So they're thinking a week on, a week off, week on, week off with the Xeloda, and then radiation. So
Well, let me ask you this. How's your energy level? Because it takes, I tell my patients, it takes a full year at least to really fully rebound from all of the side effects of cancer treatment, and that not even the cognitive ones, but just that feeling like you need a third cup of coffee, like I'm just dragging and I can't get get it back yet. Because you're kind of glowing over there, Remy, and you too, Val. I'm serious, y'all don't look like what y'all been through. So
I
we need to
know,
know the
they don't
secret.
look like that at all.
What's the secret?
I don't know. Good makeup, good light. I don't know.
I think
We'll take those, but I think it's something else.
I say the good Lord. For me, it's the good Lord. It really
Yeah.
just leaning in on my faith. It really helps me. And water, water plays a tremendous role in things too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I would echo that too. And my support system has been phenomenal. I couldn't have done it without them, without my church family, without my family, my brothers, my sister. Everybody has kind of just, I definitely did not fight this alone, especially with being a single mom of a toddler. I needed help, and they showed up and showed out. So.
I love it. Were you all provided support in terms of like nutritional support and psychosocial support? And did you have genetic testing for hereditary mutations?
I did. I had the genetic testing. I forget what the marker is, but it's one that tested negative for BRCA, but there's one that MS something or other for colon cancer.
MSH6, yeah.
Yes. And that was not yes or no, it was unknown significance of that. So, but yeah, I had the genetic testing and all that.
Is multiple myeloma genetic, or do we even know? Like, I don't think we have a generation of it to know, right?
Yeah, we don't know.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't think so. It's not listed as those hereditary cancers, but it wouldn't be surprising if 20 years from now we found out that there could be a component. But as of right now, we don't believe that there is.
Okay. And we don't even know. I tried to do a little research on a connection between breast and multiple myeloma, and it said that sometimes they're more likely to have breast after multiple myeloma, but there was really no good data to validate anything. But I think multiple myeloma is still like a new thing, right? I mean, what happened probably before this generation, people just died, right?
Well, we know more about it to test for it now. Like there's the light chains and the way they test for it, like the science behind it is probably like maybe 20, 30 years old. So we're learning more about that. But you're right, especially in our community, how prevalent might it have been? And we didn't know because maybe we didn't ever even get tested for it, right? We just assumed, somebody had a blood disorder or they were bleeding easy or whatever it was. And, got frequent nosebleeds, but didn't really think that there was something more to it.
Yeah.
Wow. So you guys are like super heroes.
We just try to get out there and just really make the community aware. With multiple myeloma and breast cancer, as Black people, we are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop these diseases. And it's about knowing that. I think when we know that, then we can do something about that. I think that's the importance of spreading the word and making sure that people are aware, particularly young adults, because the average age of diagnosis when it comes to multiple myeloma is 69. With African Americans, that could be 5 to 10 years earlier. Like I said, I was 42.
You guys are babies. You guys are, but that's like breast cancer. It's 1 in 8 women overall, but Black 35 get at twice the rate.
Yeah.
So, Remy, how old are you?
I am 44.
Yeah.
I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. I was 39. I was diagnosed.
Not common at all.
It's something to think about in terms of clinical trials and other things too, in terms of enrollment. Again, Ricky, you see those same abysmal numbers, even though we are disproportionately impacted by disease, our enrollment in clinical trials is less. And Val Worthy in the chat asked us a really good question. Do we know about cryoablation for breast cancer in Black women? And I don't know the answer to that because there's not that demographic data in the studies. Remy, I would be interested to know if they talk to you about that, because typically the cryoablation has been for the sort of lower risk ER/PR positive, HER2 negative. You had triple negative, right? So
Mhm.
that's a more aggressive phenotype, and I love the fact that that tumor was gone and you got clear margins, and I think that that's a wonderful thing. I wonder if they talk to you any about just sort of enrolling women of color, or if you have any information on that.
No, they didn't talk to me about that at all. They did let me know that I was the first person at UT Southwestern to have that procedure done, and it was starting just for triple negative, who started in the same way that I did with because I started at, I think I was a 2A. So they early stage triple negative, they were starting the study. So yeah.
Wow. Well,
I applaud you for participating in it.
yeah, I know. I love that. So great.
Yeah.
I'm wondering too, though, like, is triple negative a thing with multiple myeloma? I mean, I don't think we know that either, but I think that's something we should try to check out. That are they connected? The worst blood cancer and the worst breast cancer. Hello, Black people,
Yeah.
right? Mhm.
Like it's
Um,
coming after us.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, we know we get triple negative at 3 times the rate of white women. So,
Yeah.
But what is life like now? Because I know you have to see an oncologist for your breast cancer, and some of you are doing adjuvant things. Did you say somebody's on Xeloda, right?
I am.
Yep. And so you're still going through the breast cancer journey, but what about the surveillance for myeloma and how that affects your body and your risk of recurrence? What does surveillance look like for you? Both.
So for me, I just talked to my multiple myeloma specialist yesterday, and she's just in looking at my numbers, and my M component right now is never went away for me, but it's at a stable number. It's at 0.4. So um, she's just watching and waiting. And at the end of the year, the plan is to get another PET scan and to make sure everything is okay as far as the bones and so forth, and then start treatment right after this one ends. And so,
wow. Oh, wow.
And
So you didn't have the opportunity to take Keytruda or immunotherapy for?
I am taking Keytruda. Yeah, yeah.
I missed that. Sorry, when I was on the phone. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, you're getting the best drugs and stuff now.
Yeah.
So how's the baby?
He's good. He is wonderful. He just loves his mama. So, having a little boy is just the best. No offense to my daughter, but he just loves his mama. So I get to hug on him a lot.
I
He keeps
love
telling me,
that.
Mommy, you're my best friend. So I'm like, oh.
Okay, I want to ask a question to both of you about that because it sounds like he's your peace and he's your anchor, right? And my
Yeah.
question to you all is, having had 2 cancers, how do you find peace and peace of mind? What does that journey look like for you, and what do you do when you start to have those doubts and fears?
I think for me, it's really not focusing on the diseases. It's really knowing that I am more than what they say I have. Because I don't claim either one of them. It's just something that, hey, I don't call it my multiple myeloma or my breast cancer. It's just one of those things that I'm dealing with. But surrounding myself with positive people, pouring back into other people that are going through this, letting them know that it is possible to get through it and live very productive lives, particularly with multiple myeloma, being an incurable disease. And, for many, that means being on some kind of treatment indefinitely. And that, for a lot of people, can be very depressing. But I try to pour into those people and just to let them know that life goes on. You can still continue to live your best life. We're all going to die at some point. We don't know when our appointed time is. So rather than focus on that, focus on living, and that's what I try to do. I try to enjoy my new normal as best I can. You know, there are things that I can't do that I used to be able to do, but I've also learned to try different things, other things, you know, that I enjoy doing that I really wouldn't not have tried unless I had multiple myeloma and breast cancer and stuff like that. So I think it's just shifting the focus and focusing on the positive. I'm one of those positive people. I look for the silver lining in every cloud because I think it's there. Sometimes you do have to go searching for it and you have to look deep to find it, but I do believe it's there and I go looking for it.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It's
Yeah.
not easy. I will say that, but
Yeah.
Did you find support groups online or in person? Because I mean, some of this happened on the heels of COVID, right? And maybe even into COVID. So how's your support circle, and how has your health literacy in your community been in getting educated about this and what to do and what you need and how to raise awareness? Tell me a little bit about that journey.
well, honestly, that's what I do. I mean, I lead a support group. And I'm very fortunate enough to be able to do that, to provide that health literacy and to provide that information to other patients out there. I think that's very important because when patients know what's available to them, when they um, understand the science behind the science when it comes to clinical trials, when we educate them properly,
Thank you.
then they can make informed decisions. You know, they have the ability to know that when they go in to visit with their doctor, you can bring up a clinical trial, even if your doctor is not talking about it. And it's okay to do that. So it's really, um, getting patient education to patients, care partners, their family members, because it's not only about the patient. You know, there's several people. No one fights cancer alone. You know, we see that on T-shirts all the time. It's really true, and it's about educating the entire support system. And that's what
You're
I
saying
try to
all the
do.
right things, girlfriend, all the right things. Thank you.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what
Like
it's
you have
about.
to ask for a trial yourself. Your doctor's probably not going to invite
Yeah,
you.
yeah. And
And
we have to learn how to speak up and advocate for ourselves
Mhm.
because more than likely, if we don't, it's not going to happen for us. So we have to learn how to do that.
yeah,
And we have so often been told not to, listen to that person in the white coat because they have the training, they have the knowledge, but
Mhm.
it's your body. You have
Yeah,
some say. So yeah.
that's so true. I think that was the hardest part for me, is to advocate for myself, because
Mhm.
for me growing up, and all I knew is you do what the doctor said.
Yep.
Right.
But when my life is at risk, all bets are off. Yeah.
Changes a little bit.
Now it's
Uh-huh,
yeah.
uh-huh.
Well, but I think we want to trust our doctors, and we've done
Yeah.
some, and we want to trust our doctor. We do trust our doctor starting out, but then when you sort of peel away the onion and say, well, did your doctor tell you about clinical trials? No. Did your doctor tell you about genetic testing? No. Did your doctor tell you, you ask about your family history? No. Then you start peeling all that, and then wait a minute, my doctor didn't ask me any of that stuff. And then you say, oh, no, I don't trust my doctor. He left me hanging. Not everybody is like our precious Mo, who treats you like family. But
Yeah.
we have to be the girl boss of our bodies
Yeah.
Yes.
and do the right thing by ourselves.
Yeah. And that was so odd. When I first found, I think I posted on the myeloma Facebook page, and Val called me right away and was talking to me about her experience, and that created such a peace in me to know that, one, that I was somebody that I could talk to that had been through it, but also, about the different medications, and ask this and ask that, and things that I just would not have known.
Right.
So there's just great resources now in what Val is doing, what you guys are doing, that helps bring awareness and people talking and getting help. So it's awesome.
Yeah. When I remember when I was sick with TNBC and I went to like my first support group in Atlanta, right? Downtown Atlanta. I was the only Black person in the room, and I was the youngest in the room, and I was pretty old, and I was in my 50s, but gosh, are you seeing, I mean, I think what you're creating for people, Valerie, is a space for Black women and younger Black women to
Mhm.
have exposure to other breasties and other, I know.
Important. It's
Yeah.
important that we see people that look like us, that we share our experiences, because it's so much power in that. And knowing that you're not alone, you're
Mhm.
not going through what you're experiencing. Other Black ladies are experiencing this as well. And you don't often hear about it because we just don't talk about it. So it
Yeah.
has to, it has to be done. We gotta get together. We gotta break the silence. I always say we're doing so much harm to ourselves by not talking about our health. Um, and it's
Yeah.
no reason for that.
If there's a reason.
And we need more funding. More awareness brings more funding and more
Mhm.
opportunities for interventions, right?
Mhm.
We want
Yes.
we want therapies to be as refined
Right.
and as precise as possible to decrease the toxicity of these things. And so I think that you're so right, Val and Remy, in that, we really have to sound the alarm as much as we can about this so that people don't, one, say, oh, it's just a Black woman's disease, or, and it's this and that, or, well, the standard treatments are working. So, why do we need to do anything further as far as the research? One, we deserve a cure. And two, the treatments might be working, but they're very, very challenging. They're taxing on the body and toxic to the body. And so we gotta keep pushing for this, and I feel like not enough people know about multiple myeloma. We probably should put a tab on the touch page about other cancers, so
Yeah.
not associated cancers, but resources and that
Other
sort of
Black
thing.
cancers and put the resources.
Yeah, other disproportionate cancers and some data there, and where groups can be found. And too, I think we have to really try to make sure we educate our students, right, our HBCU students, and get them involved in research and understanding about myeloma. Because I mean, how many of your doctors look like you, right?
Right,
Not a lot. Not a
Right.
lot.
at all.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so funny when I talked to Val and she said, so we have to come on the show, and she told me she's at TNBC, and she said, well, you know what, could I bring some friends? I said, there are more people like you. She said, I
Hmm.
have so many friends. Like she is creating this new space
I
where,
love it.
let's try to even build a support group for you guys if you want to, where, if you can, get some people that have this, you know, multiple situation, right? Or,
Mhm.
and open a space and talk,
Yeah. Did you
Val
have a
got tired,
navigator? Did you
Val
have a
got
nurse
tired of
navigator?
watching.
Sorry, what's that?
Val got tired of watching. She's coming in. So she must have
Oh, oh, good. And
a
my question, and Val can answer this question too, is about navigation. We're talking a lot and we hear a lot about funding for breast cancer navigation. How do you get through the system, and, how to make that journey as seamless as possible? Hey, Val, but did you all have navigators that helped you through this and help piece together the different doctors you'd be seeing and all of the things from financial to psychosocial to treatment? How has that navigational journey been for you? Because I'm curious to know. And then how has it been in your breast cancer journey? So in your myeloma journey and your breast cancer journey, how's navigation?
This is Val, our nurse navigator extraordinary,
I
breasties.
think this is Val.
She was like, when she starts writing in the comments, I'm like, just come on. Right? Go ahead, you guys.
Well, for me, my myeloma specialist and my breast cancer oncologist in the same system, UT Southwestern. So they were able to communicate a lot. I do have a nurse navigator. They hooked me up with a therapist that I use weekly. So,
Good, good.
yeah, so it was all encompassing, a dietitian as well, and somebody that just a social worker. So it was pretty well put together for me.
You got a good team. You can't believe how often we find people that don't have a team, that go get their biopsy, find out they don't know who to go to next. So
Yeah.
that's really good that your system provided a team for you. How about you, Val?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to have that as well. The facility that I treated at, that was part of the integrative approach that they had there. So it was quite easy. I was connected, the nurse navigator kind of connected me with everything that I needed. The one thing that I did say, I did have to search outside. The therapy that was provided was, I just could not make that connection there. So I did have to search outside to find someone that I connected with on that same level. And that's something that I encourage all ladies, if that's something that you need, there is no shame in that, with talking to somebody, because, a cancer diagnosis, it's a big deal.
Mhm.
It's life altering. It changed everything.
Yeah.
And, if you can't handle that, it's okay to say, hey, I can't handle this, and to seek guidance from someone.
Yeah.
And that has been so life changing for me. But yeah, I did have all of those supports things in place. And also where I live, I'm very fortunate enough to have cancer resource centers.
Mhm.
And these are free facilities. They're affiliated with the local hospitals. But they're places where you can go to get nutritional support, exercise, um,
Right.
social support. They offer things like facials, massage. They teach you how to take care of your skin and things of that nature. So, if you are in an area that offers those types of things, take advantage of them.
Take
It
advantage.
it helps you. Yeah, yeah.
I remember my nurse navigator said, "Do you want to see a psychiatrist?" And I'm like, "Well, is that gonna help my breast cancer?" But it did. And I actually think that the exception should be the rule. Like, yes, you are
Yes.
gonna have a therapist on your team, right? And
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
say no to that, because I think it should be part of the whole conversation, that it is,
Yeah.
your mind, body, spirit, emotional state, whatever, everything.
Mhm.
But
And
I,
then cancers on top of that. Oh my gosh. Right.
but I think the reality is that a lot of our patients are in the communities where they don't have access, to those resources that these ladies discussed. And for me, working at a cancer center where people drove 2, 3, sometimes 5 hours to get treatment, and especially if they were getting a transplant. So we actually had to
How
look
far
for
did you say, Val? 5 hours?
Oh yeah, I mean, we have patients now that catch a train to get a
Mm.
1 hour treatment or 30-hour treatment.
North Carolina is a really big state, right? Right.
Yeah,
And
it
so
is, but they're coming from out of
they're
state,
coming from out of state to
because
come
if
to
you
Duke,
think
come to
about
Duke, right? To come to Duke.
right, NCI, designated cancer centers, is not a ton of them in the country. And so people try to get to the nearest one that they can, but that means housing and then transportation to and from the cancer center. We're talking food. And then does this person have a caregiver
You're not alone. The
that can
patient's not
accompany?
alone. Right.
Right. So it's a lot of those things that you as a navigator, as a caregiver, has to try to do to help this patient. I
Right.
did not realize how prevalent multiple myeloma was until I was a home infusion nurse going to the houses, apartments, clinics to connect people. Do you remember the high dose hydrations y'all got that just ran really fast? That I was the nurse that did the connections. I kept wondering, why am I seeing all these Black people? I
Mhm.
did not know as a nurse how prevalent
Wow.
that was.
Wow.
And we're talking 10, 15 years ago, well, probably at least 15 plus years ago when I did this. And Dr. Mo, there was a time, they don't do it now, but patients that had breast cancer and they had maybe 8 plus lymph node involvement,
Right.
they did a transplant. I mean, I used to take care of patients where we did transplants for breast cancer patients. So
Wow. And
yeah,
who knows the number of people that might have impacted as far as their future diagnosis of multiple myeloma as well,
absolutely.
Wow.
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 Mhm.
I
Just
I want
amazing.
to say that might have happened. Was it Robin Roberts who ended
Yeah,
up having,
exactly. She had it. And
yeah, she ended up
ended
getting
up
multiple
yeah,
myeloma as a result
yeah.
of the
And she got it.
chemotherapy.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she
she
did
had
it
that
all on Good
dementia.
Morning America. She did her transplant and showed everything on Good Morning America. She was great. And now she actually is more of an advocate for
The
multiple
blood
myeloma
cancer, yeah.
than triple negative. But
Mm.
I think she had triple negative first, and then
Mhm.
she had multiple myeloma.
Did
So
she have triple negative?
yeah, she definitely
Yeah,
did.
okay.
But
Mhm.
she
Yeah.
actually had, it wasn't myeloma, it
No,
was
it wasn't.
MDS,
Oh,
which
MDS,
is in the blood cancer
myelodysplastic
family.
syndrome.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Right. So what's that,
Mhm.
Tom? What's that? What's MDS?
Oh boy, so MDS is a platelet disorder. It's not just the red blood cells, but it has to do with the having too many platelets, but also being anemic. And it's this weird seesaw where your blood work is all out of disorder, and a lot of that can be a result of chemotherapy, but it's a very hard to pinpoint conundrum, because you can be anemic and be throwing clots at the same time because your platelets are thick and sticky, and so it's a thing that can happen, but it's a really challenging thing to diagnose, and once you figure it out, then you have to figure out how to treat too little and too much.
Wow, wow. Well, yeah, and that's what she advocates for. She advocates for stem cell transplant and getting people recruiting to, volunteer their stuff. You have any questions?
No, I'm learning a lot.
And so,
Right.
and so that really means that you need to have decent insurance as well,
Right.
because stem transplant, I mean, that's not a cheap
Mm.
cancer to deal with. And so
Right.
it's that, the insurance piece, and housing, and all the other things that are attached to
Right.
it.
Mhm.
And, we talk sometimes about
Right.
financial toxicity, people losing, their homes and everything, but they, wanting to live. It's difficult. And we need to get the word out. I love the part about, what you guys are doing in the community, because our communities don't know. I mean, just like we used to say, oh,
Right.
breast cancer is a white woman's disease. Well,
No,
it's
it's
not,
not.
and
Guess
neither are some of
what?
the
No, it's
blood
not.
cancers, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Tell me more about the events and the advocacy, and give us some examples of the engagement, and just tell us more about how you're doing that, so that people watching can maybe think about how to do it in their communities.
Yeah.
So one thing that we're doing is getting the patient involved. I have found that patients want to be involved with um, uh, getting the word out within their community. So we have this thing called the Repping the Tea campaign, and it's simply we have the T-shirts. They have Black Myeloma Health across the front, and we encourage patients and their care partners to take pamphlets. We've created materials and brochures and things of that nature with specific language. And we ask them, hey, when you go to your appointment, take some of these brochures, take some of these one-page flyers, leave them with your doctor, leave them in the waiting area, and wear the T-shirt. Spark some conversation. If somebody asks you, well, what's blackmyelomahealth.org?
Right.
You can talk to them and tell them what myeloma is. And patients love that because they have a role in spreading the word and creating that awareness within the community.
Yeah.
We are
Like
doing
that
and
conversation in the community, right? Yeah.
exactly. And we always tell them to come back and post pictures in our group, of you repping the tea, get a picture with your doctor and stuff like that. And people love that because
Yeah.
they are, they're helping, they're making a difference within their local community.
Val, what's your website again? I'm going to put it in the comments.
It's blackmyelomahealth.org.
Mhm.
Mhm. And another thing that we are doing is gosh, so much that are doing, but we are working with different hospitals. We're doing pilot programs to where our teams will go out and have one-on-one workshops with various hospitals to train the staff on resources that we have. So when myeloma patients are newly diagnosed, when they first receive that diagnosis, they can send them to us, and there's no confusion. I remember when I was diagnosed, I went to Dr. Google because I didn't know where else to go. You know, I Googled it, tried to get a lot of
Right.
information,
Yeah.
found that I would be dead in 5 years. You know, no one needs to see that when they're newly diagnosed. So our goal is to get out in the community, connect with those doctors, um, give the staff that training on our resources. So when the patient is newly diagnosed, they can refer them to us at the Health Key Foundation. They can come in and get off on a good start from the very beginning. We can provide them support resources, um, teach them what kind of questions to ask their doctors at what point. You know, show them videos on, and so they can learn all about the disease
Right.
and things of
You
that
should give us
nature.
some of those videos and we'll put them on our site, you know, because
Sure.
I do think the videos really work, and you know, the kind of the picture paints 1,000 words and tells the
They
story.
do.
You know, but we're happy to post that and post it in our social media. Talk about what you're doing. It's so important
Yeah.
for people to have a place to go and think about. I mean,
Mhm.
to me, like, I don't know what I would do if I got another cancer diagnosis. I mean, I guess that's my worst fear still as a survivor, right? I mean, think about it. Like,
I don't want to hear that.
you don't want to hear that it's going to come back, right? So, but to say,
Yeah.
not only do you have another cancer diagnosis, but it's a different one, you know?
You know what you do, Ricky? You start another umbrella under Touch. It'd be Touch the whatever Cancer Alliance.
I know.
And I mean, and that's the
Yeah.
the thing is, you all is as devastating as cancer
Go to
can
work.
be. You're walking in your purpose,
We go to
right?
work.
And you're sharing this information, and you're exactly right. And you're turning these lemons into limoncello, and this, you know, this shit into fertilizer, so something can grow from it. And that's what Black women do. That's our special superpower right there. I'm telling you.
But you know, Dr. Mo, I think that, and this is going to sound crazy, but this is the best time for African Americans to have cancer. Because, you know, I think almost 24 years ago when I was diagnosed, no one talked to me. So, you know, I couldn't go to a venue like this and even listen to anybody talk about any kind of cancer.
Yeah.
But
Right.
now, you know, we have people that don't think it's robbery to do the great things that you guys are doing. And
Right.
now people don't suffer in silence. And
They have
for
a
Mhm.
place
many,
to
many
go.
people,
Yeah,
they
they have a
suffered in
place to go.
silence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's so true.
To go. And I think
Wow.
even when I first learned about multiple myeloma, it was like instant death, you know.
Mhm.
And then one of my good friends, Robin, went through it, and she just celebrated her 5 years from her transplant.
Wow.
But still, it was so scary. I mean, not that they're not all scary, but that one seemed like super, super fatal. So you guys are such warriors and heroes and sheroes to let people
Really.
see you thriving.
Yeah.
Not
And
only
that's what we need to see, right, Ricky?
Yes, we
That's what
do.
the strength
Right.
and where the videos and the testimonials,
Mhm.
because when you go and you look up that stuff and you see those statistics, I have to tell patients all day long, you are not just statistics. I don't care what
That's
you see
right.
online. I don't care.
Yep.
And
Okay.
combat that mental
Oh,
assault, right?
Yes.
Because it
Right.
plays with your psyche if you're not careful.
Right.
And you have to speak life, and you have to see life, and you have to see yourself on
Yes.
the other side. You have to see yourself to, you know, at the 6th grade graduation, and that little boy walking across the stage, and next thing you know, he asking
Yep.
for the car keys and going off to the prom. Like,
Right.
you gotta
Right.
see it so you can see it,
See
you
it.
know?
That's
Yep.
right. That's
You better
exactly
say
right.
it.
And Valerie, I love when you said it's not my cancer. So the first thing, you know,
Love
when I was
that.
diagnosed, I
Love
said,
that.
I have cancer. And my sister-in-law corrected me and said, it's not yours because you weren't born with it. But you can't say when I was diagnosed, because you don't deny the truth, but you're not taking ownership of it. And I
Ownership.
love that. And you
Yeah.
said your name the same way. Girl, we got some
You know
commonalities.
what? When I saw that, I was like, uh-oh, there is another Valerie.
Right.
Wonderful. So
Wow.
motivating.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Ricky, you put in the chat, see us in DC tomorrow. Tell us
Yeah.
more.
Okay, so tomorrow we're actually doing a book signing with Charity Elder, who I met today, and she's a badass. And she
Wow.
basically has written a book, and it has all this data in it about the power of Black women. And so
Wow.
she's actually going to interview me, which should be interesting. So, she tells all these stories about where we come from, our sheroes, our matriarch, our grandma nannies, and where we come. And we had something, when we talked today, we had something in common that I thought was funny, that we both like love Harriet Tubman, and for different reasons.
Mhm.
And I don't want to even articulate her reason. I'll let you watch it tomorrow, but we'll try to video this tomorrow a little bit. But
Please.
but you know, my thing about Harriet Tubman, and she's this tiny woman. She's totally spirit-led, right? She gets these visions from God about which way to go, right? She says, I'm going to take you from point A to point B to freedom at my expense. I'm going to risk my life to take care of you. What do we do as Black women? We risk our lives, take care of everybody else, right?
Mhm.
But you got to do it my way. Don't ask me any questions. Don't challenge me. Don't say anything to me that, you know, don't try to direct me. You know, I'm just follow what I say, because if you don't, I have a gun and I will shoot your ass. But that's how, I mean, you're like, so when you're in my house, you're in my control and
Mhm.
I'll take care of you, right? But I love that about, you know, that's what we do as Black women. So she had her similar story of, you know, why she liked Harriet Tubman. But I think it's the fact that we all have a purpose, however we find it, and we live it to the fullest. We live it to the fullest. And I had on my GSD t-shirt till a little while ago, but you know, we try to, that's what we do every day as Black women. So that's coming up. We also, our manuscript got published today, Mo. I'm going to say our Black Data Matters got manuscript published today.
Where? Send it to me. Am I in it?
You're in, yeah, every year.
Yes.
We gotta talk about it. So we got to figure out what to do with that. But our first manuscript, which is pretty cool. Tomorrow's our 3rd birthday, and we have a lot going on. And so we're gonna put out our touch on the poster probably on Friday to tell you where we're gonna be all summer, because we're gonna be everywhere all summer. We'll be
Ubiquitous in July.
we got Louisville next week with Twisted Pink. We're actually going to be in Sharon, New York next week, then Louisville next Friday, then Pride in New York. If you're in New York, come walk with us. We're going to be going in the parade. We're decorating Haley's Beetle, and we got all the rainbow stuff. We're decorating the car, and we're going to be driving. I'm going to be driving. Haley's going to be roller skating, and whoever else comes with us. So.
Love it. Love
The 25th in New York, and then we have Ubiquitous in July. We have Vegas. We have we're going to be all over again. So we'll put that out there on Friday. Look for our social media. But going where Black women live, work, play, pray, and slay. That's where we're going to be. Hang out with us.
On the subject of Harriet Tubman, she says, I freed 1,000 slaves, and I could have freed 1,000 more if they only knew, right? If they knew they were enslaved. And I think that lack of knowledge is something. And as we are seeing in this age, in 2023, it's so important for us as community to recognize the things we don't know and invite in that knowledge so we can stop perishing for that lack of knowledge. So I really applaud your life and your legacy and your testimonies and your stories and your advocacy work. Because all of you, not just our 2 guests for today, but I mean, Val, Ricky, the work is that, right? You all are the modern day Harriet Tubman's for this work to free a lot more people who don't know. And so I'm very, very grateful. And I think it's amazing. And it's a godsend. And how you say it, Ricky, a God job?
My God job.
There it is.
God job. It's your God job. We all got a God job. Can't say no to that, right?
Can't say no.
Always.
All right. Thank
we
you.
hope it's been relatable and reliable and real. And we look forward to the updates. Please come back and let us know how you're doing in your work. If you want to go live from different events that you're having, you know, we're here for it all. So we're here to support.
We'll come to your events, whatever. Come to ours. And
and invite you all to events.
And just go live on Facebook too.
Already.
Yeah, we can always go live on Facebook. And Val's doing an event. I forgot your sister alliance. When's your event? A couple weeks.
We had
this
Val. Okay.
But you have one too.
So. We had it. It was this past Saturday.
So next year, we'll get you beforehand.
What you had?
Yeah, but we're doing them all. Let's get out. So thank you guys so much. You're so beautiful. Stay
Thank
healthy.
you. Thanks for
Great.
having us
Wow.
here.
This is
Thank
Dr.
you.
Zen, we'll see you next Wednesday here on blackdoctor.org.
Yeah.
Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our guests. And thank you to you, Ricky. And congratulations on 3 years for Touch
3 years
the
of
Black
Touch,
Breast
right?
Cancer Alliance. Magic number 3. Father, Son,
Yeah.
Holy Ghost.
Eat some ice cream for me tonight. Everybody.
Ooh.
Triple
For
scoop.
me.
That's it.
Love you guys.
Breasty love.
Bestie love.
You guys, breasty love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Good night,
Bye.
ladies.
Bye.